Hello, my name's Tom, and today we're going to be reviewing the game Mini Metro. This is a strategy simulation game where you are tasked with building the underground line as the city progresses. In a really simplistic manner, this game does reflect the reality of when a new city is growing. If we historically analyse the build-up of the London Underground, for example, the Underground went from this, to this, to this, and finally what we have today. This tube network is also being added to with a new Elizabeth line, and most likely the tube will continue to develop and become more efficient over time. Essentially, over the centuries, the tube has continued to grow, and Mini Metro simulates that growth of transport, except it happens within minutes. Although Mini Metro is definitely one of the more simpler strategy games, the game is absolutely addicting, and given the fact I got the game for about $3, I see no reason not to play this game from time to time. Let's therefore get into how to play this game and essentially win, what makes the game so good, and where do I rank it among other strategy games. So, firstly, how do you play this transport game? Well, you first start out with the metro stops of circle, square, and triangle. You need to connect them all up and make the route as efficient as possible. You start with a few train carriages and lines, so the first bit is relatively easy. Shapes then appear in each metro station, and using the trains and carriages you put down, they are trying to get to the shape they are. For example, a circle will appear at the triangle station and then want to be transferred over to the circle station, while a square from a circle station will want to be transferred to a square station. This obviously doesn't make sense in reality, but the game designers have obviously strived for simplicity, and I probably worked out how to play this game in less than 5 minutes, meaning it's very accessible to a wider audience, and something like, say, Europa Universalis 4 lacks that accessibility. Just because though it's simplistic does not mean it's dull and unchallenging. This game puts your problem-solving skills to the test. As you start to deliver passengers, the network of the underground stations slowly start to expand. Not right away, but the odd circle station will pop up, meaning you have to connect this station to the network in the most efficient way. The problem is, the randomness of the stations popping up means it's incredibly difficult to determine the best route to put your lines. Given the fact I play without pausing as well, therefore means the time I have to think about how to optimise my lines are extremely limited, particularly as it becomes tougher as time goes on. The shapes also spawn at different rates, with circle being the most common. Triangle is the second most common, and square is the second rarest. Unique shapes are the rarest, and come late in the game, and are, for example, a diamond or a star, and therefore it may take several transfers to get the shape to its right station. Each time you move the shapes to their respective station, you get a score at the top right hand corner. It's game over if one station has 7 shapes or more for around 45 seconds. At the end of each week, as the transport network becomes more complicated, you also get the option of having more trains, carriages, lines, interchanges, and finally tunnels. Each of these provide a different benefit, but ultimately, the way in which these are used is heavily dependent on the situation. If you have a rare station across the river, for example, then perhaps a tunnel might be worth it, and take significant pressure off your network. Interchanges may also be worth getting if you have a bottleneck within your network, and shapes are dropped off of this station. They also may just save you from the game being over, if there is significant pressure within one of your stations. You can also play several different city maps, such as Hong Kong, Berlin, and Paris, giving you some unique geographic challenges as you switch between the maps. You can finally also play in different game modes, such as endless and creative, but where's the fun in that? I hope this gives you an idea of the basics of how to play this game. So, what are the best strategies for this game? Well, as the networks get more complicated, you might have to redesign the lines for the network to be more efficient and manage demand. Planning and potentially saving up carriages may also be a valid strategy. Using them all too quickly and putting them in the wrong place may also lead to you not being able to prevent you losing the game quickly if there's suddenly an influx in demand at a particular station. Pausing like this and completely rebuilding your network in order to make it more efficient may just save your game. And if you don't do this, then you may get lots of inefficient lines that are unable to meet demand throughout the network. In this city, for example, while the top half has hardly any shapes, the right of the network has lots of demand, and you therefore need to redistribute the network to have a more balanced and better metro line, and so therefore it's not game over. There's lots of ways you can play this game anyway, just look out for the bottlenecks, and don't get bogged down in one aspect of the network. So what makes this game so good? Well, I firstly want to say, a significant positive of this game is the atmosphere, and it's one of the most peaceful games. Although it's simplistic, it's beautifully elegant in a unique way that I haven't seen in a strategy game. Everything from the music to the visual effects just relaxes you as you play the game, and it means over time you are likely to return to this game due to the pleasant experience. Mini Metro is also very intellectually challenging because you must constantly think of new ways to try and make the lines better and more efficient in transporting shapes. Therefore, every time you have a new city campaign, it's different, and you're also likely to come back to the game, given the fact it's not completely repetitive and dull. It's also roughly $10, and therefore not incredibly expensive for the game. But that's expected since there's not loads of content, and I'd personally say, if this game was priced at $20 or $25, it would have most likely been met with backlash from the fans. The game also has a small modding community, meaning you can install maps as well as make your own. Some of the more popular ones are firstly Tokyo, Europe, Vienna, Amsterdam, and the British Isles. While the mods are not the best mods you've probably ever seen, and are somewhat basic, it no doubt makes the game better, and adds just a bit more replayability to the game. In a lot of ways as well, you can imagine the transport networks of the world are having a similar problem to this game, and are always trying to figure out ways to improve transportation in order to increase economic growth within the country. An example of this is Japan is now building one of the fastest bullet trains in the world in order to improve its transport links. Given all these factors, it's clear that this game is good. Are there any bad parts to this game though? Well, some argue that although it's a good game for its price, the competition, which is more expensive, can give you a much better experience when it comes to building up a city, such as City Skylines or SimCity. Even though Mini Metro is intellectually challenging, it's certainly less replayable than its competitors, and feels more like a mobile game rather than a full-fledged PC game. It's also very one-dimensional, and perhaps there could be more within the game to give it a more realistic feel, like having more or less experienced train drivers, which somehow has an impact on your game. Overall though, as long as you try to get the price down to as cheap as possible, then I see no reason not to buy this game, to pass the time every so often. I don't think it will completely hook you like some other strategy games, but it's a quick and easy game to play once in a while. What do you guys think about this game though? Would you buy it, or do you think it's too simple for your liking? Let me know in the comments. Shout out to our Patreons: Shadow Singer, Jado52, Kargon, Flyerton, Henriki, Redguard76, and Xiaomi. Your support means a lot, guys.